Mr. Bill opened the door of his children's room and what he saw was shocking and unbelievable. Paul and Lizzie were doing something he couldn't imagine. Paul was 14 years old, quiet boy, who used to read books and play video games. His sister, Lizzie, was 12 years old, beautiful girl, who loves to watch Paul while reading and playing his video games to imitate what he is doing. It all started when Paul woke up in the middle of the night one day. He was going to bathroom and heard some noise coming from his parents' room. His curiosity led him to walk to his parents' room to find out what is going on. He put his ears against the door and heard his mother Kimmy screaming and shouting. He thought something bad is happening to his mother. He looked through the keyhole and saw his parents doing things he couldn't understand. Paul kept watching what they are doing in wonder, but his little mind couldn't figure out what is that. On the next day, Paul was sitting with his sister Lizzie and told her about what he saw the last night. "Lizzie, do you know what I saw last night when I woke up?" Paul asked. Lizzie replied, "What did you saw, Paul?" Paul said, "I saw Dad and Mom doing strange things that I couldn't figure it out." Lizzie said, "Bring your phone and let's try to search the internet to find out what is that." Paul agreed and went to get his phone. Then he started to describe what he saw, and what he found was shocking. He came across many adult videos showing exactly what his parents were doing. Paul tapped on one out of curiosity and the video began to play. It showed something strange. Adults behaving in ways the children didn't understand. Paul and Lizzie stared at the screen, their faces a mix of confusion and curiosity. "What are they doing?" Lizzie whispered, her voice barely audible. Paul hesitated, his brows furrowed. "I think it's something adults do. I've heard older boys at school talk about things like this." Liz's face flushed. "Should we be watching this? It feels wrong." Paul shrugged, unable to tear his eyes away. "It's just a video, it's not like we're doing anything bad," but deep down both children felt uneasy. The video ended, but instead of closing the app, Paul clicked on another one. As the minutes passed, their uneasiness turned into fascination. They didn't fully understand what they were watching, but the mystery of it drew them in. "Let's not tell anyone about this," Paul said finally, his voice firm. "It's our secret." Lizzie nodded, though a part of her wanted to tell her mother. She knew, however, that their mother wouldn't take it lightly. Her strict mother was quick to punish, and Lizzie couldn't imagine the consequences if she found out. From that day on, Paul and Liz's afternoons changed. Whenever their parents were away, they would lock themselves in Paul's room to watch more of the forbidden videos. The once innocent laughter that used to echo through the house was replaced by whispered conversations and stolen glances. Days turned into weeks, and the secret began to affect their brotherhood. They no longer played outside or did their homework together like they used to. Instead, their bond revolved around the hidden world they had discovered. One day, Lizzie turned to Paul as they sat in his room. "Do you think it's bad that we're watching these videos?" she asked, her voice trembling. Paul looked uncomfortable. "It's just videos, Lizzie. It's not like we're doing anything wrong." "But what if Mom or Dad finds out?" Lizzie asked. Paul's expression hardened. "They won't. We just had to keep it a secret." Lizzie nodded, but her unease grew with each passing day. Then one faithful afternoon, while they were searching for more and more videos, Paul stopped the video and asked Lizzie, "What about trying to imitate what we have seen?" Lizzie looked at him in shock and said, "What are you saying, Paul?" He said, "If adults could do it, why wouldn't us?" Lizzie shook her head, her heart pounding. "I don't think it is right. What if we get caught?" But Paul didn't let the idea go. His curiosity was stronger than his fear, and he kept bringing it up until Lizzie reluctantly agreed. The first time they tried it didn't go as planned. Lizzie felt a sharp pain and quickly told Paul to stop. She ran out of the room, tears streaming down her face. On the next few days, they used to watch more and more videos and got addicted to adult stuff. Paul asked Lizzie to do it again. She didn't refuse, and they tried it one more time. It was more painful this time, but Paul didn't stop. She kept crying and begging Paul to stop, but he did not. Next morning, Lizzie couldn't go to school. She felt sick with severe pain. One afternoon, when their mother came home briefly to pick up some documents, Lizzie felt an overwhelming need to speak up. She couldn't bear the silence any longer. "Mom, can I talk to you?" she asked hesitantly, her voice trembling as she approached. Her mother, Kimmy, distracted by phone calls and her growing to-do list, barely looked up. "Not now, Lizzie. I'm in a hurry," she replied, juggling calls and glancing at her watch. Lizzie stood there for a moment, her heart sinking. Her mother sighed, clearly stressed. "Later, darling. Be a good girl." "All right." She barely accepted her daughter's compassion. As she once again stepped out the door, Liz's tiny voice faded into the background, drowned by the noise of her mother's busy life. She retreated to her room, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her heart ached, but she felt invisible in a home that was supposed to be a safe place. All she wanted was for her mother to hear her, to understand the weight of her pain. Her mother, Kimmy, and her father, Mr. Bill, were always busy at work, chasing money to offer a better life for Paul and Lizzie. They didn't listen to them or try to be friends with them. One day, when Paul and Lizzie were imitating what they have seen in the video, while their parents were at work, their father, Mr. Bill, came home early, unusually. When he entered the house, he heard some noise and screaming coming from his children's room. He hurried to see what was happening. When he opened the door, he got shocked from what he saw. He shouted at them, "What are you doing?" Paul and Lizzie stared in fear at their father. They couldn't say a word. Mr. Bill lost his mind and attacked them with blows. Their mother, Kimmy, entered the house and heard her husband while he is hitting their children. She ran and entered their room and asked in shock, "What happened, Bill? What did the children do?" He told her, and she lost her mind as well. "Why did you do that?" she asked in severe anger. "How did you do that?" She was mad. She tried to calm Mr. Bill. They sat in silence, trying to figure out how their children reached this level. One evening, while Mr. Bill was sitting on the couch, he called Paul to talk with him about what he did with his sister. "How did you do that, Paul?" Mr. Bill asked. "I have seen this stuff on some videos," Paul replied. Mr. Bill asked, "What kind of videos?" "It's an adult stuff videos," Paul said. Mr. Bill got angry and yelled at him, "You are not supposed to see these types of videos. It's an adult stuff and you are young, how dare you?" Paul apologized and promised his father he will not do it again. Mr. and Mrs. Bill were silent, realizing that their actions, although unintentional, had made their children vulnerable to dangers they hadn't even considered. Accepting this was not easy for them, but they knew they had to change. Bill took immediate action to correct the wrong. He decided to monitor the children's screen time, ensuring that they only watched age-appropriate videos and engaged in suitable activities. They were also encouraged to talk about anything they had seen on phone, helping them understand their thoughts and feelings. In addition to these changes, Mr. Bill arranged for both Paul and Lizzie to speak with a counselor. They knew their children needed guidance to understand their emotions. As they recovered from their experiences, the family made a conscious effort to spend more quality time together. In the evenings, Mrs. Bill would read stories to Paul and Lizzie before bed, while Mr. Bill kept them engaged in fun games. Gradually, the siblings started laughing again, rediscovering their bond through positive, healthy activities. It was a journey, but the parents were committed to ensuring their children grew up in a safe and nurturing environment, free from the dangers of inappropriate content. Months passed and the parents became a more attentive and present family. Mrs. Bill made a conscious decision to reduce her work hours, making her family a priority. Mr. Bill, who had always been busy with work, started dedicating his weekends to spending time with Paul and Lizzie. Under this new attention and love, the children blossomed. Paul and Lizzie felt more confident, knowing they could approach their parents about anything on their minds. The painful silence that had once filled their home was replaced by laughter, love, and the warmth of a family that was learning how to truly be there for one another. They sat with them one evening and had a long talk with them, explaining the dangers of the content they had been watching and why their actions were harmful. Though their words were gentle, the children could feel the weight of their disappointment. Mr. and Mrs. Bill realized the importance of spending time with their kids, talking to them about safe and responsible phone use and teach them about the dangers of certain content. Phones are tools that can help children learn and communicate, but they should be given only when a child is mature enough to handle them responsibly.